of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC-012 titled Strategic Management for MBA Program. Presenting Block 3 titled Formulation of Strategy, UNIT-9 Corporate Level Strategy Part 2.
Diversification. Diversification involves moving into new lines of business. When an industry consolidates and becomes mature, most of the organizations in that industry would reach the limits of growth using vertical and horizontal growth strategies. If they want to continue growing any further, the only option available to them is diversification by expanding their operations into a different industry. Diversification strategies also apply to the more general case of spreading market risk. Adding products to the existing lines of business can be viewed as analogs to an investor who invests in multiple stocks to spread the risk. Diversification into other lines of business can especially make sense when the organization faces uncertain conditions in its core product market domain. Diversification of an organization can take the form of concentric and conglomerate diversification. Concentric related diversification is appropriate when an organization has a strong competitive position but industry attractiveness is low. Conglomerate unrelated diversification is an appropriate strategy when current industry is unattractive and that the organization lacks exceptional and outstanding capabilities or skills in related products or services. Generally, related diversification strategies have been demonstrated to achieve higher value creation, profitability, and stock value than unrelated diversification strategies conglomerates. The interpretation of this finding is that there must be some advantage achieved through shared resources, experience, competencies, technologies, or other value-creating factors. This is the so-called synergy effect of diversification, that is, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. There are two types of diversification which are as follows. Related diversification, concentric diversification, unrelated diversification, conglomerate diversification. Related diversification, which is concentric diversification. In this alternative, an organization expands into a related industry, one having synergy with the organization's existing lines of business, creating a situation in which the existing and new lines of business share and gain special advantage from commonalities such as technology, customers, distribution, location, product or manufacturing similarities, and government access. In essence, in concentric diversification, the new industry is related in some way to the current one. This is often an appropriate corporate strategy when an organization has a strong competitive position and distinctive competencies, but its existing industry is not very attractive. Thus, an organization is said to have pursued concentric diversification strategy when it enters into new product or service area belonging to different industry category. But the new product or service is similar to the existing one with respect to technology or production or marketing channels or customers. Unrelated diversification, conglomerate diversification. Conglomerate diversification is a growth strategy in which an organization seeks to grow by adding entirely unrelated products and markets to its existing business. An organization that consists of a grouping of businesses from unrelated streams is called a conglomerate. In conglomerate diversification, an organization generally introduces new products using different technologies in new markets. A conglomerate consists of a number of product divisions which sell different products principally to their own market rather than to each other. Conglomerates diversify their business risk through profit gain from profit centers in various lines of business. Rationale for diversification. Under strict assumptions of an efficient market theory, there is no convincing rationale for one organization to acquire another, especially less efficient or unrelated businesses. Since the markets are imperfect and do not follow the norms or efficient market theory, Organizations do diversify for several reasons given below. Economies of scale and scope synergy. The merger of two organizations producing similar products should allow the combined organizations to pool resources and attain lower operating cost. The saving may come from reduced overheads or the ability to spread a larger amount of production over lower consolidated fixed costs. There may also be differential management capabilities. Efficiencies can also be gained through pooled financial resources or simply through pooled risk. Widen market base and enhance market power. Large number of collaborations and acquisitions are aimed at expanding the market for the organization's products. Mergers and acquisitions can increase an organization's market share when both organizations are in the same business. But market share does not necessarily translate to higher profits or greater value for owners unless the merger substantially reduces the inter-organization rivalry in the industry. Profit stability. Acquisition of new business can reduce variations in corporate profits by expanding the organization's lines of business. This typically occurs when the core business depends on sales that are seasonal or cyclical. A large number of organizations pursue diversification strategy just to avoid instability in sales and profits, which can result from events such as cyclical and seasonal shifts in demands, changes in the life cycles, and other de-establishing forces in the micro and macro environment. Improve financial performance. Large organizations generate cash that can be invested in other ventures. The organization acts as a banker of an internal capital market. The core business sustains itself on its money-making ventures and uses this cash flow to create new ventures that generate additional profits. An organization may also be tempted to exploit diversification opportunities because it has liquid resources far in excess of the total expansion needs. Growth. Diversification is basically a way to grow. Indeed, managers often cite growth as the principal reasons for diversification. The most important factor that motivates management to diversify is to achieve higher growth rate than possible with intensification strategy. If the management feels that the existing products and markets do not have the potential to deliver expected growth, the only alternative they have is to diversify into new territories. Unlike organic growth, which is slow, an acquisition or merger, inorganic can deliver the results rather quickly since resources, skills, other factors essential for faster growth and are immediately available. Counter competitive threats. Organizations are driven at times towards external diversification through merger by competitive pressures. Such a strategic move is expected to counter the competitive threats by reducing the intensity of competition. Access to latest technology. Many Indian organizations enter into strategic alliances with foreign organizations to gain access to the latest technologies without spending huge amount of money on R&D. Regulatory factors. A large number of organizations have diversified their operations geographically to exploit opportunities in different regions and nations and also to take advantage of the incentives being offered by the various governments to attract investment. Many organizations enter other nations to avoid restrictions placed by the regulators in their host nation. Alternative routes to diversification. Once an organization opts for diversification, it must select one of the options discussed below. There are three broad ways to implement diversification strategies. Mergers and acquisitions. A merger is a legal transaction in which two or more organizations combine operations through an exchange of stock. In a merger, only one organization entity will eventually remain. An acquisition is a purchase of one organization by another. In recent years, there were quite a few acquisitions in which the target organizations resisted the takeover bids. These acquisitions are referred to as hostile takeovers. It is natural for the target organization's management to try to defend against the takeover. Although they are used synonymously, there is a slight distinction between the term merger and acquisition. This will be discussed more in detail in the later sections. Strategic partnering. Strategic partnering occurs when two or more organizations establish a relationship that combines their resources, capabilities, and core competencies to achieve some business objective. The three major types of strategic partnerships include joint venture, long-term partnerships, and strategic alliances, which are discussed below. Joint ventures. In a joint venture, two or more organizations form a separate independent organization for strategic purposes. Such partnerships are usually focused on accomplishing a specific market objective. They may last from a few months to a few years and often involve a cross-border relationship. One organization may purchase a percentage of the stock in the other partner, but not a controlling share. Long-term contracts. In this arrangement, two or more organizations enter a legal contract for a specific business purpose. Long-term contracts are common between a buyer and a supplier. Many strategists consider them more flexible and less inhibiting than vertical integration. It is usually easier to end an unsatisfactory long-term contract than to end a joint venture. Strategic alliances. In a strategic alliance, two or more organizations share resources, capabilities, or distinctive competencies to pursue some business purpose. Strategic alliances often transcend the narrower focus and shorter duration of joint ventures. These alliances may be aimed at world market dominance within a product category. While the partners cooperate within the boundaries of the alliance relationship, they often compete fiercely in other parts of their businesses. Retrenchment strategies. Retrenchment is a short-run renewal strategy designed to overcome organizational weaknesses that are contributing to deteriorating performance. It is meant to replenish and revitalize the organizational resources and capabilities so that the organization can regain its competitiveness. Retrenchment may be thought as a minor surgery to correct a problem. Managers often try a minimal treatment first, cost cutting, or a small layoff, hoping that nothing more painful will be needed to turn the organization around. When performance measures reveal a more serious situation, more drastic actions must be taken to restore performance. Retrenchment strategies call for two primary actions: cost cutting and restructuring. One or both of these tools will be employed more extensively in turnaround situations because the problems are deeper there than in retrenchment situations. Retrenchment strategy alternatives include shrinking selectively, extracting cash for investment in other businesses, and divestment. While these strategies result in generating cash, they differ in terms of their intentions. Divestment of the whole business is an end game strategy, and it may be done via selling or liquidation of business. Under the strategy of extraction of cash for investment in other business, cash is generated from the troubled business mainly via budget and cost contraction. In both strategies, the intention of management is to quit the troubled business. In the shrinking selectively strategy SSS, cash is generated via downsizing, contraction of size, or divesting some operations. The strategy of shrinking selectively involves retrieving the value of investments in some parts of the market while reinvesting in others because in some niches demands will continue to grow while in others the demand shrivels. The objective is to capture the desirable niches. Shrinking selectively as a repositioning strategy, that is, matching market niche with distinctive competence, often results in renewed strength. There are three major variants of retrenchment strategy, which are turnaround strategy, survival strategy, liquidation strategy. Turnaround strategy. A turnaround strategy or a turnaround situation exists when an organization encounters multiple years of declining financial performance subsequent to a period of prosperity. Turnaround situations are caused by combinations of external and internal factors and may be the result of years of gradual slowdown or months of precipitous financial decline. The strategic causes of performance downturns include increased competition, raw material shortages, and decreased profit margins, while operating problems include strikes and labor problems, excess plant capacity and depressed price levels, the immediacy of the resulting threat to organization survival posed by the turnaround situation is known as situation. Low level of severity are indicated by declines in sales or income margins, while extremely high severity would be signaled by imminent bankruptcy. The recognition of a relationship between cause and response is imperative for a turnaround process, and hence the importance of properly assessing the cause of the turnaround situation so that it could be the focus of the recovery response is very important. The turnaround process. The turnaround process begins with a depiction of external and internal factors as causes of an organization's performance downturn. If these factors continue to detrimentally impact the organization, its financial health is threatened. Unchecked financial decline places the organization in a turnaround situation. A turnaround situation represents absolute and relative to industry declining performance of a sufficient magnitude to warrant explicit turnaround actions. A turnaround is typically accomplished through a two-stage process. The initial stage is focused on the primary objectives of survival and achievement of a positive cash flow. This means to achieve this objective involves an emergency plan to halt the organization's financial hemorrhage and a stabilization plan to streamline and improve core operations. In other words, it involves the classic retrenchment activities, that is, liquidation, divestment, product elimination, and downsizing the workforce. Retrenchment is an integral component of turnaround strategy. The critical role of retrenchment in providing a stable base from which to launch a recovery phase of the turnaround process is well established. Many organizations that have achieved a reversal of financial or competitive decline inevitably refer to the presence of retrenchment as a precursor or prelude to the implementation of a successful recovery strategy. Consequently, retrenchment may be necessary to stabilize the situation by securing or providing slack regardless of the subsequent recovery strategy that is chosen. The second phase involves a return to growth or recovery stage, and the turnaround process shifts away from retrenchment and move towards growth and development and growth in market share. The means employed for achieving these objectives are acquisitions, new products, new markets, and increased market penetration. The importance of the second stage in the turnaround situation is underscored by the fact that primary causes of the turnaround situation have been associated with this phase of the turnaround process, the recovery response. Recovery is said to have been achieved when economic measures indicate that the organization has regained its pre-downturn levels of performance. Between these two stages, a clear strategy is needed for an organization. As the financial decline stops, the organization must decide whether it will pursue recovery in its retrenchment reduced form through a scaled back version of its pre-existing strategy, or whether it will shift to a return to growth stage. It is at this point that the ultimate direction of the turnaround strategy becomes clear. Essentially, the organization must choose either to continue to pursue retrenchment as its dominant strategy or to couple the retrenchment stage with a new recovery strategy that emphasizes growth. The degree and duration of the retrenchment phase should be based on the organization's financial health. Survival strategy. When the organization is on the verge of extinction, it can follow several routes for renewing the fortunes of the organization. These are discussed in the following sections. Divestment. An organization divests when it sells a business unit to another organization that will continue to operate it. Spin-off. In a spin-off, an organization sets up a business unit as a separate business through a distribution of stock or a cash deal. This is one way to allow a new management team to try to do better with a business unit that is a poor or mediocre performer. Restructuring the business operations. The organization tries to survive by restructuring its management team, financial re-engineering, or overall business re-engineering. Business re-engineering involves throwing aside all old business processes and starting from scratch to design more efficient processes. This may cut costs and assist a turnaround situation. This is much easier to visualize in a manufacturing process where each step of assembly is examined for improvement or elimination. It would be foolish to find more efficient ways to perform processes that should be abandoned, and hence, re-engineering is strongly suggested in such case. Liquidation strategy. Liquidation is the final resort for a declining organization. This is the ultimate stage in the process of renewing organization. Sometimes a business unit or a whole organization becomes so weak that the owners cannot find an interested buyer. A simple shutdown will prevent owners from throwing good money after bad once it is clear that there is no future for the business. In such a situation, liquidation is the best option. Bankruptcy is a last resort when the business fails financially. The court will liquidate its assets. The proceeds will be used to pay off the organization's outstanding debts. Some organizations file for bankruptcy instead of liquidating. Under this option, the organization reorganizes its operations while being protected from its creditors. If the organization can emerge from bankruptcy, it pays off its creditors as best as it can. Let's summarize the chapter. Strategy refers to how a given objective will be achieved. Therefore, strategy is concerned with the relationships between ends and means, that is, between the results we seek and the resources at our disposal. There are 3 levels of strategy, namely corporate strategies, competitive strategies, and functional strategies. Corporate strategy sets the overall direction of the organization will follow. On the other hand, competitive strategies determine how the organization will compete in a specific business or industry. Functional strategies, also referred to as operational strategies, are the short-term, less than 1 year, goal-directed decisions and actions of the organization or various functional departments. There are various approaches to developing stability strategy. They are holding strategy, stable growth, harvesting strategy, profit or endgame strategy. Growth of business organizations implies realignment of its business operations to different product market environments. This is achieved through the basic growth approaches of intensive expansion, integration, horizontal and vertical integration, diversification, and international operations have been covered in this unit. Diversification involves moving into new lines of businesses. Of the various routes to expansion, diversification is definitely the most complex and risky route. Diversification of an organization can take the form of concentric and conglomerate diversification. An organization is said to pursue concentric diversification strategy when it enters into new product or services areas belonging to different industry category, but the new product or service is similar to the existing one in many respects. Retrenchment strategy is normally followed by organizations during their decline stage. Retrenchment is a short-run renewal strategy designed to overcome organizational weaknesses that are contributing to deteriorating performances. It is meant to replenish and revitalize the organizational resources and capabilities so that the organization can regain its competitiveness. Overall, this unit gives an idea about various corporate strategies which at one point of time the organizations use.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code MMPC-012, titled Strategic Management. Course coordinator Professor Neeti Agrawal. Voiceover by Chitra Gaur. Edited by Ashok Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jaha. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.